So what I'd like to talk about today is how has technology changed education. Basically, this is to inform you of how education has evolved with technology. Um, with the advancements of technology, it's allowed education to be available to anybody, um, basically anywhere they are, worldwide practically, if you can get an internet source. If there's anything that we've learned from this pandemic, it's the fact that being able to still get an education, even though you're not physically in that classroom, allows you to continue to grow and learn. Of course, online schooling and stuff has been done way before the pandemic, but for me, that's when it actually impacted my life. Um, Due to my personal experience with online schooling is kind of why this is an interest of mine, because if it wasn't for online schooling, it's kind of part of why I'm able to do the education and learning that I'm able to do now is because of that fact. Um, if you look back to, what was education before technology existed, you can look at like, natives to the land, planting gardens and hunters, gatherers, all those things. The only way that they could learn for the most part was word of mouth. They translated, hey, this is how you have to do this. This is what we do, and they taught each other by word of mouth and action. And then school became about. It's a Greece word. It means leisure. Some of the first examples of technology for education, you could look at either like a wax tablet and a stylus, or you could look at a clay tablet and a little chisel stone, um, things like that, and then you talk to your parents or your grandparents, and they can tell you all about different, teacher smacking them with the ruler, stuff like that, funny stories, right? But, they'll go back and they'll tell you about, the book educations and little binders that they would keep, and, some of parents and stuff, and maybe even some of you be familiar with like older like chalkboards, stuff like that. These things provided a great way to learn. I don't believe anything's really changed education as much as computers and technology. Modern technology, look at a smart board or laptops and computers. Even a smart board in a classroom has its advantages. Um, so there are downfalls of the technology. Downfalls could be people could use the technology to look up answers or cheat, those kind of things. Whereas with computers, it makes finding answers easier. I do think that technology has made things maybe a little bit too easy. You look at a graphing calculator, and the using a graphing calculator in your math class, it's much easier to punch in all the numbers and actually get your arch of your line versus having to actually write everything out and do it the long way. And so I do think technology does make it easier, maybe too easy. But there's lots of benefits for online schooling. For example, I travel across 7 states. So when I'd get off working, I would literally check into a hotel, bust open my laptop, sign in, and I would actually start working on my homework. And I'd be 3 states away. I wouldn't even be physically anywhere near there. And I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't just rely on my experience. So I have a cousin. Her name's Tiffany Ellis. She attends New Hampshire Southern University online as an online student, and I asked her just a couple of questions. I wanted to kind of get her opinion on stuff, and we talked about what's most beneficial. And one of the things that she enjoys is that she gets to work from the comfort of her own home. Um, One of the other things is she kind of lives in the middle of the woods, so the commute into town, that'd be a big inconvenience, and she enjoys not having to do that. So the ability to work at her own pace and not sit in a classroom. So she doesn't have to actually attend a lecture, and she can take her time and she can watch those lectures over and over and over, and kind of try and take the time to think through the process while she's doing that homework. She does not like the due dates. She says she only has like a 2-day due date, and I'm sure even in person colleges or kind of strict like that. We kind of get like a week here, depending on your class and depending on the week. But for the most part, that seemed to be what her complaint would have been. And then, as you can tell, technology has many advantages. There's people out there like me that would not have the opportunity to learn or get that education if it wasn't for online schooling. Um, I think that online schooling has been one of the most beneficial things, and I probably wouldn't be where I am today in my life if it wasn't for having these online classes available to me.